This is the second half of the solutions for the practice test for Chapter 9. Taking a look at the first one here, number 11, name two congruent line segments. And so when we're talking about line segments, we're talking about sides of this polygon. And so what we look for are either side lengths that are the same or these tick marks. And so the tick marks represent that two sides are the same if you have the same number of tick marks. So two congruent line segments. Well, I'll give you a few of them here. AB is congruent, and here's my symbol for congruent. It's just an equal sign with a little squiggly line up on top. AB is congruent to ED. And then also we could say AE is congruent to, and I started with A, so I'm going to go with BD. Now notice that the hat on top does not have arrows at the end because it's a line segment at ends. I could have also said that BC is congruent to DC. And so again, the tick marks told me that those were congruent. Here we're supposed to classify a triangle. So when we classify a triangle, we have a few different types. First of all, we have an equilateral. Now this is not an equilateral. Equilaterals have all angles are the same and all sides are the same. And then we have other types. We've got scalene, and we've got an isosceles. And then after that, we also have a right triangle, which is this one is. Now let's talk about a scalene real quick. So this was all angles equal. This is all sides are different. So they're not the same. And here we have two equal sides. Well, we also have obtuse and acute triangles too. So we can use those different terminology. And we talked about obtuse and acute in the last section, the first part here. Now this one, it has a right angle, so we know this is a right triangle. This is a 90-degree angle, so it's a right triangle. But we have to specify, we can be a little more specific about this, because we could have an isosceles right. An isosceles right would be two sides that are the same. But notice how all three of these sides are different lengths. So that's why I'm going to call this a scalene. A scalene right is what I'll end up calling this. Now let's take a look at the next one. I guess I can write that word triangle in there as well. So scalene right triangle. Find the unknown measure, unknown angle measure. So this is the unknown measure right here, x we'll call it. Well, this symbol tells me that I have a 90-degree angle. So what we have to know is all angles sum to 180 degrees in a triangle. And so if that's the case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add them all up. 60, or 90, I'll start with, plus 60 plus x, all sum to make 180. Well, I'm going to go ahead and add these together. That makes 150 plus x equals 180. And then from there, you just have to move that 150 back to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract that from both sides. And when we do that, we have x equals 30. So that's the missing angle right there. So 30 degrees would be the answer for that one. Well, number 14 is exactly the same, except this time we don't have that right symbol. So here we just have two angles. And again, we want to find that other angle. So it's done the same way. So 50 plus 25 plus x equals 180. So you add these two together, you end up with 75 plus x equals 180. Well, from that point, we just have to do an opposite operation. See, we want to find out 75 plus what equals 180. Well, if we subtract 75 from 180, it would tell us that number. So x is going to end up equaling 105. 105. And to borrow from the 8, change it to a 7 to make this a 10. So 105. Right, well, let's take a look at the next one. Name the quadrilateral shown below. Remember, there's different types of quadrilaterals. We had parallelograms, which this one is. This one is a parallelogram. However, we can be more specific. There were different types of parallelograms. There was a rhombus. Well, a rhombus has all sides equal. Well, there's a square. That's a special type of rhombus that has all angles equal. And we also have a rectangle. And that's what we have here. And so we'll go ahead and just call this, because they didn't specify saying each of the names, they just said, what is it? Well, the best way to describe this is a rectangle. A rectangle because all angles are equal, and it's a parallelogram. The other type of quadrilateral that we would end up having would be a trapezoid. And a trapezoid would only have one set of parallel sides, but this one has two sets of parallel sides, these two and these two over here. Now they want a quadrilateral has no equal sides and no equal angles. What type of quadrilateral is this? Well, in this case, since it has no equal angles, no equal sides, they could call it, I guess we could end up drawing a trapezoid to match this. So I could draw something like this. And this one would have all sides are different. You see how all the sides are different? But I do have these two angles, these two sides going the same way. So this could be a type. And now, I guess one way to represent this would be to call it an irregular. Regular means all sides are the same and all angles are the same. But irregular just means that it's not all sides, not all angles are the same. So it could have been a trapezoid. It could not be a parallelogram, though. It could not be a parallelogram, because parallelograms have the same angles for at least two of the sides. So irregular would be the best way to represent that. If the two triangles are congruent, what is the length of x? All right, so what we want to do is see how this side is 10 and this side is 10. Congruent means the same. It means the angles are the same, the sides are the same. The same triangle, basically, is what we're looking at. If this is 10, this is 10. This is 14 1/10, this is 14 1/10. This is 10, x has to be 10 also. So that's the missing link there. And so what is the measure of angle x? Well, if it's congruent, I didn't say that, but let's just go ahead and say congruent means the same triangle. Same angles, same length of sides. It's exactly the same. And so if this side's 9, this side's 9, 15, 15, 12, 12. That means if this is 90, this one here has to be 90 degrees as well. Well, those are the types of questions you'll see on this week's test. Good luck on that.